All right, so we're looking at our Unit 2 Practice TGA exam. So this is question 1. So looking at writing an explicit formula, showing all work steps, find the 8th term. So remember, when we're writing an explicit formula, we've got our equation there. So we split it up into 2 parts. So remember, step 1 is to write the formula, and step 2 is to find the nth term. And it's been a while since we've covered explicit formulas and, recursive and all that stuff. So I will be giving you it'll look just like this for your exam, just different numbers. So we'll be giving you the formula. You don't have to memorize it. So remember, we write out that formula, but instead of a sub 1, we're going to put something there, and instead of d, we're going to put something there as well, n minus 1. So remember, a sub 1, that's going to be the very first term in the sequence. First term in the sequence. And d is our common difference. Remember, that's like the pattern. How are we going from number to number? All right, so I'll usually color code this. So first term, I'll use green, a sub 1, and that's just the very first term in the sequence. What's the very first number that you see, right? Their very first number is 60, so 60 is the very first. All right, and then from there, the common difference, d. This is just the pattern. How are we making these bunny hops? What does it look like? What's going on? It looks like we're adding 4 each time, right? Looks like we're adding 4. So we'll just plug that in, plus 4. All right, and then we're already halfway through the problem. We've got our equation done. We've got our formula. Now what we're asked to find is the 8th term. 8th term. So this is good that they're, giving us this information. It's helpful because they're telling us, hey, n equals 8. And we're like, thank you for that, because now we can plug this into our formula to find the 8th term. So writing that out, so we'll have a sub 8, right, because we replaced n with 8, equals 60 plus 4 times 8 minus 1. All right, so we'll check. So PEMDAS, order of operations, start with parentheses. So 8 minus 1 is 7. And 4. 7 times 4 should be 28, because 21 is 7 times 3, so 28. And 60, so that's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8. So 88 should be the 8th term, a sub 8. There we go. All right, so that's all for part 1. Writing the equation, plugging in what's the first term, what's the pattern, boom. And then using that to find the 8th term. And then we would have color-coded, right? That's where that 8 came from. All we did was replace n with 8. All right, we can go ahead and move on to our next one. Okay, now we're at question number 2. So it's saying write the sequence based on the recursive formula below. So they're giving us the recursive formula. Again, your exam is going to look very similar. Luckily for us, it's not in parentheses, so we don't have to change it, right? The subscripts are there. A sub 1 equals this. And then remember, the recursive formula is saying to find the nth term in the sequence. How do we do that? We need the term right before it, and then we're going to add the common difference. So again, just like labeling, what does this mean? What is this information telling us? So a sub 1 is the very first term in our sequence. And then this is saying to find the nth term, we need the term right before it, and then adding the common difference. Common difference. So pretty simple for finding the first 4 terms. They already give us the first is 29. Cool. And then from there, we're just using that common difference. We're going to add 5 each time. Add 5, add 5, add 5. And I did add a calculator. I forgot on the last problem to update it, but you can check in the calculator. So 29 plus 5 is 34. All right, so next one's going to be 34. And then plus another 5. Oh, it won't let me do that. Just add it here. Plus 5 is going to be 39. I don't know why it's like cursive-y. Add another 5. It's going to be 44. I will go over this too at the end of your exam, but on your exam you will have a calculator just like this while you're taking your exam. So just make sure you're including, when you take your screenshots, including that calculator. I will go over that in the video at the end of the exam where I'm like kind of walking you through how to upload. But just to reiterate, while we're here getting in that mindset, if this was our exam, I would make sure I'm including the calculator, right? Let's say you got rid of it. It still saves all of your work. So I just want to point that out. It saves all your work and it tells you when you used it. So like the last problem, I didn't use it. So the calculator like is not highlighted, but in question 2, I used it. It's like blue highlighted. This is also where during the exam, your feedback, my feedback to you will show up. It'll be like a little icon that's like green. It'll say like, has like a little text bubble that says I, left feedback. All right, so that was question 2. Recursive, first term, boom, bunny hops, adding common difference. All right, let's move on to question number 3. Question number 3, okay. So here we're determining, is it linear or exponential? And we want to show work. We want to know what the pattern is. How are we finding the pattern, going to these numbers to determine if it's linear or exponential? So kind of reminding ourselves, so linear, that's like our arithmetic sequence. This is where we have like that common difference. Forget it. Let me cross this out. Let me do this a little simpler. So linear, common difference, basically the pattern is are we adding or subtracting? Are we adding or subtracting? Then it's linear. Exponential is like we're multiplying or dividing. Okay. We'll keep it super simple. Anytime we're looking at the pattern, remember we're focusing just only on the y values. So even just right now as we're saying it, to remind ourselves of this, I'm going to just highlight only the y values. Just going to draw out some baguettes here, some pieces of bread. All right, beautiful. Okay, let's see. So I want to know what's the pattern, what's happening. So this first one looks like it's pretty steady, jumping from 10 to negative 10 to negative 16. It looks like we're subtracting 6, but let's check. I don't know why it's like my pen tool is really weird today. It's gonna bother me. Let me get rid of it. Let me redo that. It looks like we're subtracting 6, but let's just check. So 16 minus negative 16 minus 6. Let's see if that does give us negative 22. So negative 16 minus 6. Yep. And then again, minus 6. Negative 8. That was my bad. It's supposed to be 28. Let's see, minus 6. Yeah, 34. So that's my bad. That's supposed to be a 28. I don't know where the 2 went. Whoops. 28. Negative 28. So this one we're subtracting by 6 each time. So because we are subtracting, this is going to be linear. And it won't let me. All the stuff today. This is going to be linear. Linear. And the pattern was we were subtracting 6. On your exam, I will be asking what the pattern is. That's why we're doing it here too. All right, next one. How are we jumping from number to number? It looks like, oh my goodness, it's increasing very quickly. Going from 22 to 44, that's adding 22, but going from 44 to 88, that's not adding 22. So it looks like we could be multiplying. Remember to figure out the multiplication pattern if it's exponential, which it looks like it is, because we're going from 22 to almost 400, right? This is growing very fast. To find that, what that multiplication pattern is, remember we take the second number, 44, divided by the first, 22. Looks like they're both divisible by 22. That's going to be 2. So this one is exponential. And what our pattern was is we were multiplying by 2. So we multiplied by 2. All All right, because remember, the reason we're taking the second number divided by the first is because even if we're dividing, remember, we don't say we're dividing, we say we're multiplying by a fraction. So this is how we would find that fraction. All right, so looking at our last one, 300, 20, 160, 80, 40, 20. Looks like it's decreasing pretty rapidly, right? Going from 300 and then within like 3 or 4 more span, numbers later, we're at 20, right? It's decreasing pretty quick. So we're going to do the same strategy. We're going to take the second term in the sequence, 160, divided by the first, negative 320. All right, and then this is where maybe the calculator could come in handy for you to, if it will let me click on the calculator. Okay, let's see. Clear. Okay, I guess I should have left it and done a new tab. It's fine. So 160, will it simplify the fractions? Divided by 320. Ooh, it can show you what it looks like as a fraction. Very cool, very cool. So that's gonna be 1/2, right? So we're multiplying by 1/2, like we're dividing by 2. Because we're dividing or multiplying, it is exponential. And this is gonna be, we're multiplying by 1/2. Exponential multiplying by 1/2. Multiplying by 1/2, right? Because it's like we're dividing by 2, but we don't say dividing, we say we multiply by a fraction. All right, so again, if this was our TGA exam, I would make sure my screenshot is including the calculator, but that would be at the end anyway. Okay. Along the way too, if you guys have any questions, let me know during class, or if you're watching this outside of class, let me know. Like, I didn't really understand this. Can you give me another explanation or another sample? Let me know. All right, you also have all of these problems on your Khan Academy as well. Okay. Question 4. Let's see. All right, so we're going to write an equation based on a table. Make sure we're showing all of our work. Okay, so let me make sure. So if we're writing out our exponential function equation, right, it's always going to be f of x equals blank times blank to the power of x. All right. Blank times blank. So a is always the very, very first term in our sequence, the initial value. Y-intercept. So remember, y-intercept, if we want the y-intercept, that's when x is equal to 0. It's when it's intercepting, crossing over the y-axis. So this is when x equals 0. Pretty simple. Looking at our table, we can see x is 0. When x is 0, y is 64. So we can plug that in. All right, and then for B, finding the multiplication pattern, our rate of growth. For B, highlight that. For B, then we're just seeing how are we making these bunny hops? How are we jumping from number to number? All right, and how we find that, again, is we take the second term in the sequence, or second term in our, for our y value, divided by the first. So the second is 48 divided by 64. And because we've got this fancy little calculator tool here, we can do it this way. So 48 divided by 64, and it will show you what that is as fraction. So pretty cool, 3/4. That saves us a lot of time. All right, so that's gonna be equals 3/4, and we plug it in, 3/4, boom, done. Again, make sure for, if this was your exam, make sure again we're showing all of our work, highlighting, annotating, making sure we're being very clear, obvious. This is where I got my answer. This is just so I can understand like our thought process. If we're just giving the answer, just know you're gonna get marked down. I need to see thought process behind it, showing work in some regard. All right, color coding, stuff like that. Okay, this was question number 4. Pause. For question 5, I'm gonna link, I have a video that I just made looking at these problems, so I'm gonna link that from Khan Academy. So I'm gonna skip 5. We'll look at 6. So for decay, remember decay is when it's like a fraction. That's going to be when it's between 0 and 1 for decay. And that was it, right? That was question 6. Yeah. Brain break. Yeah, that's all. All right. That's all we had. Again, any questions, let me know. But good luck. You guys got this. Reference our class recordings if you need some extra help. Khan Academy is super big for this unit. A lot of the questions are pulled from Khan Academy from your homework. So if you've been staying on top of the Khan Academy assigned topics, then your exam should be pretty simple because you're like, maybe I've seen those numbers before. Hint, hint. All right. Again, as always, though, any other questions, let me know. All right. Take care. Bye.